It would take a businessman who's like anti-war and could bring like peace to the Middle East and have all the other crazy world leaders in check.
Yeah. Did you see Vivek Ramaswamy? You know who that is?
Oh, yeah.
Van Jones, listened
yeah.
to his speech, was saying that it's like he's going to be around 50 years longer than Trump. And so he does a speech out. He goes, Van Jones, shut the fuck up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. And when I saw that, I'm like, more of this, dude.
Trump opened up the door
Yeah.
to that kind of shit.
Yeah.
He really did. When there was no politicians before Trump that you ever even heard swear.
Yeah.
When Trump was talking about China, he goes, you can say, you know, we want to negotiate, we want to do this, or you could say, listen, motherfucker. And people are like, yes, talk like a real person.
Yes.
Talk like a real person.
Yeah.
That's what the world is missing. People talking like real people.
All right, guys. So as promised yesterday, we have to do a follow-up reaction video to a interview between Vivek Ramaswamy and NBC propagandist, activist Dasha Burns, who gets visibly upset over the fact that Vivek is not going along with the mainstream liberal media and their narrative. Now, yesterday, the video that I did was about Vivek not going along with the mainstream liberal media when it comes to so-called conspiracy theories about things like January 6th, COVID, the Hunter Biden laptop. The liberal media hates the fact that a presidential candidate from a major party is saying out loud the things that you're not supposed to say, okay, in regards to the truth about January 6th, about COVID, about Hunter Biden's laptop, etc. Therefore, they try to smear him as a so-called conspiracy theorist in order to discredit him because they have to address the fact that a major party candidate is actually saying something like this out loud, right? And American people are going to question whether or not the media is lying to us and whether or not they are actually trustworthy. And the media cannot be questioned, okay? They can't be questioned. And this is why they get so frustrated. In this interview right here, Dasha Burns is going to follow up with Vivek on this conversation about white supremacy because Vivek set a Washington Post reporter straight on the campaign trail who tried to get Vivek to go along with the liberal media narrative when it comes to white supremacy, and he was not going along with it. And of course, in this interview right here, he's not going to go along with it, and this woman is going to lose her mind over it, right? So I want to react to it, but before we get into it, we have to have a word from the sponsor of this video, Noble Gold. If you're trying to navigate market turbulence, why not set a course to the Noble Gold investment safe haven? With global uncertainty looming, your savings and retirement plan are under siege. But there's one asset that has stood the test of time, and that is gold. Unlock the peace of mind that comes with owning gold, the ultimate safe haven. And if precious metals are new to you, Noble Gold will hold your hand throughout the whole process. They have a team of experts that will guide you through every step on your way to safety. Thousands of investors have sheltered their retirement savings with Noble Gold investments. Don't leave yourself exposed to the markets right now. It's just way too risky. With gold near an all-time high and looking to climb even higher, it's the perfect time. Open a Noble Gold Investments IRA and secure your future with a free gold bullion coin. Act now before it's too late. Call 877-646-5347 and claim your free coin before it's gone. Or visit noblegoldinvestments.com now. That is noblegoldinvestments.com, the only gold company that I trust. And just remember, there's a risk with every investment and there's no guarantee of any kind.
Let's talk about white supremacy and what happened last night for a moment, because when you were talking to reporters last night, you called white supremacy a myth. When someone asked you about Dylan Roof, you said you didn't know who that is. Have you looked up what happened in 2015?
Yeah, look, I said this last night. Invidious racial discrimination is wrong no matter how it happens. But if a Washington Post reporter is asking me almost like a catechism, whatever question I said, I'm against invidious racial discrimination, whatever form it takes, but says, do you denounce white supremacy? It's incumbent on us for us to define what white supremacy is. I wrote my book, Woke Inc., and I've written about the detailed understanding of what the popular understanding of these terms have come to mean. Do you believe punctuality is a vestige of white supremacy, Dasha?
Look,
because if you don't, then you have a disagreement about many of the people who are defining those terms, or the written word, or the use, or the nuclear family. This is These aren't my words. These are the words of intellectual proponents from Ibram Kendi to the Ayanna Presleys to BLM that have said these are vestiges of white supremacy. So
Mr.
we can't have it both ways.
What you do, though,
we have to have
you
an honest discussion.
Straw man arguments.
This is not a straw man.
You brought up Jussie Smollett as
Wow. This is what you do. You choose straw man arguments. Okay. While the mainstream liberal media, that's all they do is straw man. I mean, listen, it's really a shame the fact that they're even having this conversation in the first place, where they get so triggered by the fact that Vivek is not using the magic words, I denounce white supremacy, which, like I told you guys before, Trump has denounced white supremacy 1,000 times during his presidency, but they still said that Trump refuses to denounce white supremacy. He's in bed with white supremacists. He is a white supremacist. So it doesn't matter what you say, right? Vivek comes out here and says, I denounce all forms of racial hatred, okay? And then, Dasha Burns and, the Washington Post reporter, they still feel the need to ask him, well, do you denounce white supremacy? What do you have to say about white supremacy? Well, I just said that, hey, I denounce all forms of racial hatred. Why do I have to say the magic words, right? But the reason why is because the liberal media agenda is to try to identify white supremacy as a specific threat that must be denounced, when we can't even really define what white supremacy is, okay? Which is the point that Vivek is bringing up in regards to, if you take the woke definition of white supremacy, which basically extends to anything that the left disagrees with, right? Or any type of behaviors that would make black people more successful in this country and will push back against the narrative that this country is systemically racist against black people, right? That is a form of white supremacy, okay? So how can you ask me to denounce something that, according to the left, is any behaviors that actually would make a black person successful? Because according to the left, punctuality, rational thinking, the Protestant work ethic, showing up on time, okay, hard work, whatever, right? Like, all these things are forms of white supremacy, okay? So if you're asking me to denounce white supremacy, you have to be very specific about what you're asking me to denounce, because you may be asking me to denounce things that I agree with, right? Again, based off the woke definition of white supremacy. Again, this is not a straw man. This is a legitimate point that Vivek is bringing up, and it shows how silly the conversation about white supremacy has gotten in our country. Okay, it doesn't really mean anything. It is just a dog whistle, right? The left always wants to talk about the right dog whistling, okay, to the so-called racists on the right. The left dog whistles all the time to the woke revolutionaries on the left, aka the racists, because they are racist, with this term white supremacy, because that's all it is at this point. It's a dog whistle. That's exactly what it is.
The best
Jussie
example
Smollett
of white
was the hottest thing in
supremacy.
news in the back of a fake actual attack on him that we have to contend with.
And yet you have examples like the Buffalo shooter in New York just in 2022.
You have other
but
examples.
You are also cherry picking when you bring up Jussie Smollett.
I'll look at all of the statistics. More black on black crime. If you really care about actual crime against black Americans, let's get to the root causes of it in the inner cities of this country.
The Anti-Defamation League tracked a 38% increase in white supremacist propaganda last year.
Who's tracking that?
The Anti-Defamation League.
Yeah, the ADL, I don't think is a particularly credible source
so
when they have cherry-picked information.
So who are we supposed to look to when we're talking about
I would suggest look at there's a table, 2x2 table. Federal law enforcement data, which you could say what you do. Maybe we shouldn't believe that either. But look at black on Asian crime, black on black crime,
the FBI
white on
hate
black
crime statistics. That's a law enforcement agency. 59.1% was based on race, ethnicity, and ancestry, saying hate crimes rose 12% between 2020 and 2021.
Look at the absolute crimes themselves. What they classify as a hate crime is itself a political judgment. I think that when you actually care about protecting life, if you want to say Black Lives Matter, let's look at where black lives are actually being lost. It's in the cities, at the heart of other black Americans and criminals that are restrained by the absence
that we talk about as well. But are we?
No, you don't. You never talk about that issue. You never talk about it. And this is what they do every single time they're confronted with the fact that the mainstream liberal media never actually covers an issue in a way that really is the most impactful for what they claim that they care about, okay? Like, for example, the whole point of bringing up, white supremacy and hate crimes is because presumably this is something that is affecting black people and it is costing black lives, right? It's terrible for them, okay? But when you actually want to talk about what is the most dangerous threat to black people in this country, it's not actually the white man. It's not white supremacy. It's not so-called hate crimes. It's other black folks, right? It's other black folks. It's black folks, thugs, and criminals. Those are the most dangerous threats to black people in this country, and the mainstream liberal media never addresses it. They never talk about black on black crime. Never. Right? I went and Googled, okay, Dasha Burns, black on black crime. She's never done a segment on it, right? She's never done a segment on it. Why? Because as a white liberal woman, she would never, ever, ever touch a subject like that, right? Ever. Okay? She wouldn't even feel comfortable reporting on it. And that's the point that Vivek is bringing up here. If you want to talk about what actually is affecting black lives the most, we're talking about the loss of black life, then we have to talk about black on black crime first before we talk about anything else. Because to the rational person, it is very silly to talk about this imaginary threat of white supremacy when it comes to black lives. And then you look at the crime statistics and you say, well, it seems like black supremacy might be a bigger threat than white supremacy when we're talking about the loss of black lives in this country.
We're supposed to ignore white supremacist hate crimes.
We're not supposed to ignore any kind of crime, Dasha. That's what I say. But what I see is a selective reporting. Take the Nashville Transgender Shooter Manifesto. Every shooter manifesto in a mass shooting has been released within 48 hours, except for that one shooter in Nashville. Now, it ended up being leaked. What do you see? It wasn't a white supremacist. It was somebody that was actually making fun of using derogatory terms. I believe.
Okay, so why are you okay talking about that manifesto and not talking about the manifesto from the 2015?
I'm more than okay talking about both. But what I'm asking is, why is the mainstream media suppress that one? Why did the police suppress that one? Why was that the one shooter manifesto that of all of the mass shootings, every other shooter manifesto has been released? I'm focused on that one because that's the one that's been hidden from us. And it comes back to the point of my candidacy and the way I'm going to run this country. Trust the people with the truth. If it doesn't match your narrative,
the reality is right now,
I think the media did not hold the police accountable. They would have been demanding that.
Starting to gain traction with the black community, with Latino voters. Do not worry that your rhetoric is pushing them away. There are folks
to the contrary. I think we're going to bring black people into this movement.
Who are concerned about your rhetoric.
Well, you know what? I'm concerned about their corruption. If you had somebody who actually one of the most prominent black influencer the other day, what did she say? I've been black my whole life, and this man could actually unify this country, in response to a long exchange I had with a black pastor who had an event here in Iowa, did challenge me with a hard question, asking me, are my views against affirmative action, how do those align with historical racial injustice?
Affirmative action is a debate that is being had.
If I may just finish this. If I may finish my point, Dasha.
With racism,
I think I will be better positioned.
But you're denying that racism is a problem.
I've never denied that racism is a problem. And if you listen to the response I gave to that black pastor, my whole point is racism has been a major problem for most of our national history. But we're getting close to the promised land that Martin Luther King envisioned. We're as darn close to it as we ever have been. And so what bothers the heck out of me is it's right when we're close to that promised land. Martin Luther King said it, I may not get there with you, and he didn't get there with us. But I think it desecrates the legacy of our civil rights movement, desecrates the legacy of Martin Luther King, that right when we get closest to the point of having racial equality and gender equality and even opportunities for people of minorities of many types, are we perfect? No. But are we as close as we've ever been? Yes, we have. To then obsess over systemic racism.
Well, the reason why is because if we actually get to the promised land, then there's going to be a whole lot of race hustlers that are going to be in the unemployment line, okay? If we get to the promised land, then the boohoo, whine, and crime racism industry will collapse. And best believe that is a multi-billion-dollar industry, okay? The race hustling industry, okay, the boohoo, whine, and crime racism industry is a multi-billion-dollar enterprise that must be protected at all costs. Okay, this is why the race hustlers are trying so hard to take us back to Jim Crow, right? Because they need racism to be alive and well. They need the white supremacy narrative to be alive and well in order for them to continue to make money. Okay, could you imagine if we actually did get to the promised land, would Ibram X. Kendi have a job? Hell no, he wouldn't have a job, right? This is why a part of his anti-racist theories is that, hey, if you're white, you're racist no matter what. And no matter what you do, even if you adopt my anti-racist principles, even if you buy my course, okay, if you let me come into your company and divide your company with my racist ideology, you're still going to be racist no matter what, right? So therefore, you must keep buying it into perpetuity, right? Or else you're racist. But just remember, you can't do anything about your racism because you're white, right? Again, people like him will be unemployed, wouldn't have a job. People like Tariq Nasheed be unemployed, wouldn't have a job. Democrat Party would go extinct, okay? Wouldn't be able to get elected. Again, there's a lot of people that are dependent on the boohoo, whine, and crying racism industry. And that's why they're never going to let it die, right? It's not going to die. This is why you have these fake hate crimes like Juicy Smollett, which Vivek bought up, right? The mainstream liberal media bought into it. They covered it en masse because the supply of racism is much less than the demand, right? It's so much less racism in this country than the demand for racism that they have to make it up, okay? They got to make it up. And again, the reason why they do it is because it's profitable. Juicy thought that his career would go to another level by faking a hate crime against himself. And that is a symptom of a much bigger problem that we have when it comes to the race hustling industry, right? It's extremely profitable. And that's why it's never going to go away, right? They're not going to stop doing it.
To then obsess over white guilt and otherwise, we're creating new waves of racism, Dasha, that we otherwise would have avoided right when we're closest to having achieved what even the proponents of the civil rights movement would have dreamed of. That's what bothers me. My exchange with that black pastor about a week or so ago, right here in Iowa, not far from where we are, it was in Indianola, not far from where we are in Des Moines, was that we're founded on the pursuit of a more perfect union, the pursuit of liberty, equality, and justice for all. And I reject this left-wing narrative that's creating more artificial division. So I believe I will bring more black and Hispanic voters into our movement, not by saying fake poll-tested slogans, but by speaking the hard truth that we've been imperfect in our past, but let us celebrate the progress we've made and reject the media's cherry-picking narratives to actually get to the truth of the matter. And now if we care about black lives, the things we're going to do isn't obsessing about white supremacy. It's actually fixing the problems in our cities, which I will do as our president.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Something Democrats refuse to do. Right? And they refuse to do it because then they can just turn around and blame the white man. Well, it's the white supremacy, right? That's the reason why, you're poor. That's the reason why your neighborhoods are crime ridden. Okay, that's the reason why you're not getting the resources that you think you deserve. Again, they all try to, blame it on the white man and white supremacy, okay, as a deflection away from the Democrat policies that have actually harmed a lot of people in these inner liberal cities. Again, so this interview right here from Vivek, again, was an absolute masterclass, okay? I mean, I'm telling you guys, enjoy it while it lasts, okay, because it might not last that much longer. This guy is probably the greatest gift to the Republican Party that we've had since Trump, basically, and I'm enjoying it. I really am, okay? He is destroying the mainstream liberal media. He is taking a sledgehammer to their narrative one by one by one, doesn't matter what the topic is. And it really blows my mind that this guy is not polling much higher. Maybe the polls are fake. Who knows? Maybe he will surprise people, in Iowa on the day of the caucus. Who knows? But, man, I got to tell you, Vivek is he's on fire, right? He's on fire. He just continues to get better and better and better and better and better. So, hey, let me know what you got to say. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.